In Norse mythology, the gods are divided into two great tribes, the Æsir and the Vanir. The Æsir, led by wise Odin in Asgard, are gods of power and order. Figures like Odin himself, Frigg, Tyr and Thor, known for warfare and honor. The Vanir, dwelling in Vanaheim, are gods of fertility, wealth and magic, including Njörður, Freyja and Freyja, who preside over nature's bounty and mystical arts. For ages, the two divine clans lived side by side in relative peace, with distinctions between them blurring as they freely mingled. Yet there came a time when distrust and anger sundered their harmony, plunging the gods into a conflict unlike anything before. It began with the arrival of a mysterious sorceress in Asgard. This was Freyja of the Vanir, the foremost master of Seidr, a powerful form of magic and shamanism. Disguised under the name Heider, she traveled far and wide practicing her craft. Eventually coming to offer her services in Odin's hall, the Æsir welcomed this Völva at first, marveling at her prophecies and sorceries. But they soon found that the allure of her magic bred greed and discord among them, tempting them to forsake their values of honor and kin loyalty. The gods of Asgard began to seek selfish desires through her spells, and in their folly they blamed the enchantress for the chaos that ensued. In their eyes, she became Gullveig, a name meaning gold thirst or gold greed, for they felt she lusted after gold and had corrupted them with avarice. Consumed by fear and anger, the Æsir resolved to destroy Gullveig for her witchcraft. They seized the sorceress and attacked her in the hall of Odin. Spears were hurled into her body, and she was cast into flames. The gods burned her to ashes. To their shock, Gullveig did not perish. From the charred remains, she was reborn, alive as ever. Thrice the Æsir tried to immolate her, and 3 times the Vanir witch rose anew from the fire, unscathed and indomitable. This horrifying spectacle proved that no physical force could easily slay one so steeped in Seidr. Gullveig lived on, ever she lives, as the prophecy says, despite the worst the Æsir could do. The brutal treatment of this Vanir goddess was an unforgivable outrage. News of Gullveig's burning enraged the Vanir tribe. They saw the attempted murder of their beloved seeress as a heinous betrayal. The peace between the two families of gods shattered then and there, replaced by fear, hatred, and a thirst for vengeance on both sides. Thus were sown the seeds of the Æsir-Vanir War, remembered in Norse law as the first war that ever was. The world itself had never known such a conflict until the gods took up arms against each other over Gullveig's fate. And so the two pantheons clashed. The Allfather Odin himself cast the first spear over the battlefield, signaling that war had begun. The Æsir, true to their nature, fought with conventional weapons and brute force, storming into battle with swords, axes, and Thor's mighty hammer. Facing them, the Vanir wielded subtle magic and enchantments, making the very earth and elements ally with them. It was a war of might against magic, of proud warriors versus powerful sorcerers. When Odin's spear flew, it is said, then in the world did war first come. The wall that girdled the gods was broken as the Vanir breached Asgard's defenses. Each side wreaked great destruction upon the other's realm, the Vanir laying waste to Asgard's surroundings, the Æsir retaliating in Vanaheim. Yet neither could achieve total victory. Conflict raged on and on, with fortunes shifting like the tides. One day the Æsir would gain an advantage, only to be outwitted by Vanir sorcery the next. Years of battle passed, drenching the fields in divine blood, but the war remained a stalemate. At length, the gods grew weary of this bitter struggle. The endless cycle of revenge and destruction brought them no closer to triumph, only to mutual ruin. Both the Æsir and the Vanir looked upon the devastation with dismay. The wisest among them realized that neither side could truly vanquish the other without destroying the world they were meant to protect. And so, reluctantly, they sought a truce. Gathering at a council, the leaders of the Æsir and Vanir negotiated a settlement to end the war. In those ancient times, a customary way to forge peace between rival tribes was to exchange hostages, each side sending notable members to live with the other as a guarantee of good faith. The gods agreed to this sacred practice. To the Æsir's great hall went Njordr, the wealthy Vanir god of the sea, along with his son Freyr and daughter Freyja, the beloved twins who embodied fertility and prosperity. These Vanir deities would henceforth dwell in Asgard, bridging the divide between the two families. In return, the Æsir sent Hanir, Odin's own brother, a large, handsome god thought to be a wise chieftain, and the wise old guardian Mimir to live among the Vanir. By this exchange, each side paid tribute to the other, symbolizing that neither was truly conquered. Instead, they would share honor going forward. For a short while, this exchange appeased both sides. In Asgard, Njordr, Freyr, and Freyja were welcomed and integrated into the Æsir society, dwelling in peace among their former enemies. Freyr won the esteem of the Æsir with his benevolent rule over rain and sunshine, while Freyja's beauty and knowledge of magic enriched Asgard's culture. Meanwhile, in Vanaheim, the Vanir initially celebrated Hanir's arrival, believing they'd gained a leader of great wisdom. Indeed, whenever the clever Mimir stood at Hanir's side, Hanir offered excellent counsel and the Vanir rejoiced. But they soon noticed a troubling pattern. When Mimir was absent, Hanir became tongue-tied and foolish. Bereft of Mimir's advice, Hanir could only mumble, "Let others decide," whenever pressed for guidance. The Vanir grew suspicious. They realized they'd been tricked into accepting a dullard whose wisdom was not his own. In fury at what they saw as deceit by the Æsir, the Vanir took vengeance. They seized the wise Mimir, whom they blamed for Hanir's failings, and beheaded him in a rage. The Vanir then sent Mimir's severed head back to Asgard, a grim message they would not be cheated or slighted. The Æsir were aghast at this violent act. Odin was especially grief-stricken, having lost Mimir, his most trusted sage. Yet even in his sorrow, Odin would not abandon peace. He took Mimir's embalmed head and worked magic upon it, using herbs and charms to preserve it from decay and to draw out its wisdom. By Odin's power, Mimir's head was revived enough to speak, continuing to impart counsel to the All-Father when needed, even after death. This morbid consolation aside, the killing of Mimir threatened to plunge the gods into war once more. Tensions flared. For a moment, it seemed the truce might collapse, but cooler heads prevailed. Both the Æsir and Vanir were exhausted from the long war and loath to restart the bloodshed. Determined to prevent any further cycle of revenge, the two sides chose a different path, a lasting peace, sealed by an extraordinary pact of unity. To finalize their reconciliation, the Æsir and Vanir performed an ancient ritual of truce. All the gods from both tribes came together in a circle and spat into a great cauldron. This act sounds strange to modern ears, but among the Norse it was a solemn way to swear an oath. Each deity adding a part of themselves, their saliva, into a collective vessel as a token of their bond of peace. Once they had all spat, Odin and the others refused to discard this mingled essence. Instead, from the contents of that cauldron, they shaped a living being so that the truce would not be forgotten. Thus was created Kvasir, a man formed of the spittle of all the gods. Kvasir's birth was a marvel, because he was made from the essence of every Æsir and every Vanir together. Kvasir was imbued with all their knowledge and wisdom. He emerged as the wisest of all beings, overflowing with understanding of the cosmos. There was no question he could not answer, no riddle he could not unravel. In him, the collective power of the once warring gods was united and elevated. The creation of Kvasir was the final seal on the peace treaty, a living symbol of harmony between former foes. Both sides cherished Kvasir as a divine gift born from their reconciliation. He wandered the worlds, dispensing wisdom and healing strife wherever he went, a reminder that something new and wondrous had been born from the end of the war. It is told that Kvasir later met a tragic fate, killed by dwarves who brewed mead from his blood. But that is another story for another time, and the tale of the Æsir Vanir War. Kvasir's role is simply to embody the peace and unity that now prevailed. Through Kvasir, the gods ensured that their oath of friendship would endure, for its very existence was a product of their pledge never to fight each other again.